For 10,000 years, the Galactic Empire had ruled over the stars with unmatched order and confidence. Its banners hung on 1,000 worlds, its fleets patrolled the void, and its citizens believed there was nothing left in the galaxy to surprise them. To live under the Empire was to live under certainty. Everything had its place, every planet had its duty, and every race had accepted the Empress's peace. From the silver cities of Orion to the mist-covered colonies of Lyra, the Empire's reach was absolute. It was said that even the light of newborn stars bowed before the Empress's command. No one dared to challenge the Empire's might, for its war fleets were unmatched and its technology supreme. Yet peace often grows dull, and the Empire had begun to forget that once, long ago, it was not the only power among the stars. Then one ordinary day, a strange signal arrived from the outer rim of known space. It came from a quiet system near a small yellow star, a place no one had paid attention to for centuries. The message was simple, a repeating pulse of numbers structured in perfect mathematical rhythm. Nothing like it had been seen before. At first, the analysts of the Imperial Communication Network dismissed it. They had seen countless false alarms from cosmic interference and drifting probes. But something about this signal was different. It was too regular, too intentional, and buried within its data stream was a small, almost forgotten word, a word that made the senior analysts stare at their screens in disbelief. Human. The word caused murmurs in every research station that received it. Humans were a name out of legend, a species said to have burned themselves out in ancient wars. They had once been explorers, scientists, and dreamers. Some records even claimed they had reached the stars long before joining the Empire's growing sphere of influence. But that was millennia ago. Their last known colonies had fallen silent during the Age of Expansion. Many believed they had gone extinct, so when the report reached the Imperial Science Council, it was met with both amusement and disbelief. Humans, laughed Director Velthar, a tall reptilian scholar with scales the color of iron. Those myths again? We have no verified record that they ever survived the Great Collapse. Yet the signal persisted. It continued day after day, repeating the same pattern. Coordinates, a greeting, a ship signature, one that did not match any known design in the Imperial database. The scientists grew uneasy. Machines could not send greetings. Someone was out there, alive and intelligent. The message was forwarded to the Imperial High Command. The admirals debated for hours. It could be a trap, said Admiral Rethon. A rogue faction, perhaps. Or pirates using an ancient myth to lure our ships. Or it could be genuine, countered Admiral Terran. If humans truly survived, they could possess technologies lost to us. We must investigate. At last, the Empress herself gave the order. Send a scout fleet, observe, do not engage. And if this is truly human, bring me proof. The scout fleet departed within a week. 6 sleek cruisers and a command vessel, the ISV Radiant Spear. They were among the finest of the Empire's exploration forces, equipped with powerful sensors and the latest warp drives. Captain Aaron Voth commanded the mission, a calm and disciplined officer who trusted data more than rumors. When they arrived at the edge of the Sol system, their instruments lit up instantly. There, orbiting the blue world called Earth, they detected several artificial satellites still functioning after centuries. Most were inactive relics, but a few emitted faint signals, human signals. The crew watched in awe as images of Earth appeared on their displays, oceans, continents, clouds. It looked alive, untouched by war or decay. Strange energy readings flickered across the planet's surface, unlike any known power source. The fleet sent probes closer for a better look. "Commander," said the sensor officer, "I'm detecting a massive structure behind the moon. Metallic, approximately 30 kilometers long. Configuration, unknown." Captain Voth frowned. "That cannot be correct." "Recheck the scan." "Recheck twice, sir." "The readings are solid." The bridge went silent. A ship that size could only belong to a major empire. But no empire had claimed this system for thousands of years. "Visual feed," ordered the captain. The screen flickered, and then they saw it. Emerging slowly from behind the moon was a shape so vast it seemed to block the stars themselves. Its hull was black, reflective, and covered in strange shifting lights that pulsed like a living organism. No known species built ships that looked like that. It moved silently without visible thrusters, yet its mass registered higher than any dreadnought in the Empire's fleet. The crew whispered in disbelief. What is that thing?" one officer murmured. Identify its signature, the captain ordered. The computer processed the data, lines of code racing across the display. Then it stopped, and one word appeared on the screen. Valkyrie. Underneath, a second line. TSS Valkyrie, Terran starship. The captain stared. Terran, the ancient word for Earth, humanity's homeworld. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. Open a communication channel. They waited. The connection pulsed. Then a voice answered. Soft, clear, and unmistakably human. Unidentified vessels, you are entering restricted Terran space. Please identify yourselves and state your purpose. The crew froze. The voice sounded calm but firm, neither hostile nor afraid. It was a tone of someone who had seen countless challenges before. This is Captain Aaron Voth of the Galactic Empire, he replied cautiously. We received a signal from this system. We come in peace and wish to make contact. There was a pause. Then the voice returned. Contact is unnecessary. Humanity is not seeking alliances. Leave this sector immediately. The captain frowned. We mean no harm. We simply wish to confirm your existence. You have confirmed it, the voice replied. Now turn back. The communication ended abruptly. The massive ship remained motionless, silent, and cold. The Imperial officers looked at one another, uncertain of what to do next. Captain Voth sighed. Send a probe closer. Let's get a better reading. The probe moved forward, crossing the invisible boundary between the fleet and the moon's orbit. For a moment, nothing happened. Then all at once, every sensor on the fleet flickered. The readings went wild. Energy surges, gravity distortions, time delays, everything was unstable. And then the probe vanished. Not destroyed, simply gone. As if erased from existence, panic rippled across the bridge. What happened? Cried the communications officer. No explosion detected, said another. It just disappeared. The captain clenched his jaw. Pull us back. We're leaving. As the fleet turned, a new message appeared on their main screen. It was simple, composed of 3 words. We warned you, no one had sent it. No transmission was detected. It had simply appeared, as if the ship itself had spoken directly into their systems. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the massive Terran vessel faded from sensors. It did not move away. It simply vanished, leaving behind only silence and a feeling of awe. Captain Voth sat in his chair for a long time, staring at the empty screen. He had faced many unknowns in his career, but nothing like this. Humanity, the forgotten race, had returned, and their technology was beyond anything the Empire had ever imagined. He finally spoke, his voice quiet. Set course for home. The Empress must hear this. As the fleet left the Sol system behind, the crew could not stop whispering. The Empire had always believed it ruled the stars, but somewhere out there, a single human warship had made them question everything they thought they knew. And far behind them, in the dark shadow of the moon, the TSS Valkyrie watched them go, silent, patient, and impossibly strong. The return of the scout fleet caused a storm in the heart of the Galactic Empire. For centuries, no single mission had ever shaken so many minds at once. Reports arrived sealed under the highest security levels, yet rumors spread faster than any official announcement. A ship of impossible size. A human voice issuing commands. And an entire Imperial fleet rendered powerless without a single shot fired. When Captain Aaron Voth walked into the Imperial Council chamber, even the most senior admirals turned to listen. The circular hall was filled with glowing screens, golden banners, and the Empress's personal guard, the Silent Blades. The air felt heavy with curiosity and disbelief. The Empress herself sat on a raised throne at the center. She was calm and graceful, her expression unreadable. Her voice was soft but carried across the vast room with ease. Captain Voth, she said, you claim to have seen a Terran ship, a human warship, alive and functional after all these centuries? Yes, Your Radiance, Voth answered, bowing slightly. We saw it with our own eyes. We received a direct transmission from a human voice. It identified itself as Terran. The ship called itself the TSS Valkyrie. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. Director Velthar of the Science Council frowned. Impossible. No human ship could have survived this long. The last recorded human colony fell 5,000 years ago. Captain Voth nodded slowly. I understand your doubt, Director. But the evidence is solid. We have recordings, energy readings, and the Empress raised her hand. Enough. Show us. Moments later, the Council's central screen flickered to life. The dark, massive image of the ship filled the hall, black as space itself, its surface glowing with patterns like starlight trapped beneath glass. As the image turned slowly, the Council gasped. The ship's design broke every known law of structure and balance. Its smooth curves and luminous veins gave it an almost living presence. No visible weapons, no propulsion trails, yet it moved with perfect grace. And then the recording of the voice played. "Unidentified vessels, you are trespassing in Terran space. Please identify and retreat." The hall fell silent. Even the Empress leaned forward slightly, her golden eyes narrowing. The voice was calm, polite, but firm, a confidence that only came from unmatched power. "Was this some form of automated defense system?" asked Admiral Rethon, though his voice trembled slightly. Voth shook his head. "It was no machine. We spoke, it responded. It warned us. When we sent a probe forward, the probe vanished. Not destroyed or gone. No explosion, no debris. Simply erased from existence." Gasps filled the room. "Erased?" "Yes," Voth confirmed. "And before we could act further, our entire fleet suffered simultaneous power loss. All systems went offline for exactly 1 minute. When they returned, we received one final message." He tapped a control and glowing words appeared in the air for all to see. "We warned you." No sound followed. Only silence. After the meeting, the Empress called a private conference with her most trusted advisors. "This is no ordinary encounter," she said quietly. "A single human ship disabled 6 Imperial cruisers without firing a weapon. What kind of power could do that?" "Perhaps they've rediscovered lost technology," suggested Director Velthar. "If humans survived in isolation, they might have advanced differently." "Or," said Admiral Terran thoughtfully, "perhaps they never stopped advancing at all. We may have outgrown them in numbers, but not in imagination." The Empress rose from her seat and walked to the great star map behind her. Thousands of systems glimmered across the projection. The Empire's glory spread across half the galaxy. Her gaze fixed on one small blue dot marked Sol. "That system," she whispered, "was once considered unimportant. Now it threatens the balance of power." She turned to her admirals. "We must know more. Send another fleet, a larger one. But do not provoke them. I want to understand what humanity has become." 3 weeks later, at the edge of the Sol system, the Empire returned, this time with a full fleet of 20 ships, led by the heavy cruiser ISV Dominion. Its commander, Admiral Saren Hale, was known for his steady discipline. He had studied Captain Voth's report 100 times before making his move. "Maintain long-range position," Hale ordered as his fleet came out of warp. "No aggressive maneuvers. Power down all weapon systems. We're here to observe," his crew obeyed. Scanners began their work, sending invisible waves of data toward the blue planet. Everything seemed calm at first. Earth rotated quietly, its white clouds drifting in peace. Then one of the operators spoke. "Sir, detecting an object near lunar orbit." Everyone looked to the screen. It was there, the same massive silhouette, the same dark shape rising slowly from the moon's shadow. The bridge fell silent. Admiral Hale stood motionless as the ship appeared fully on sensors. He whispered the name from the report. "Valkyrie." This time, however, something was different. The human ship wasn't hiding its presence. It broadcasted energy readings openly, as if daring the Empire to study it. "Send a signal," Hale ordered calmly. "Announce peaceful intentions." The communications officer nodded. "Message sent, sir." Moments later, the reply came. "Imperial vessels, you were told not to return." The voice was the same, calm and human. But there was no anger in it. Only disappointment. Hale answered carefully. "We come in peace. We wish to understand who you are and how you survived." "Humanity survived," the voice replied, "because we learned to adapt. We asked for peace before. You responded with curiosity wrapped in arrogance. We have no wish to repeat that cycle." The bridge crew looked at each other nervously. Hale, however, stood tall. "We are not here to threaten," he said. "The Empress herself wishes to open a dialogue. We come with respect." There was a long silence. Then the Valkyrie moved, slowly turning until its nose faced the Imperial fleet. The crew watched, hearts pounding as light patterns began to ripple across the Terran hull, forming symbols no one could translate. Energy levels spiked, but not toward weapon ranges. It felt more like a scan, deep and penetrating. "Our systems are being accessed," the science officer reported. "They're reading us." Before Hale could respond, every console flickered. The lights dimmed, then returned. No damage. But all Imperial computers now displayed a single image, the symbol of a human hand reaching for a star. Then a new message appeared. "Curiosity can be noble, but tread carefully, Empire. The stars remember who they once belonged to." And with that, the Valkyrie vanished. Not through speed, but through a strange distortion, as if space itself had folded around it. The fleet returned home, shaken but unharmed. Their data was clear. The humans possessed energy control beyond known science. They could manipulate gravity, energy, and even electromagnetic signals at will. When Admiral Hale reported to the Empress, she listened silently. "They spoke of memory," he said. "They warned us again, but not as enemies." It was almost like a teacher speaking to a student. The Empress nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is exactly what they are. But if they have such power," Hale continued, "why do they not use it?" "Why only warnings?" "Because, Nari," the Empress said softly, "those who truly understand power have no need to show it." Her words left the room in silence. From that day forward, the Empire began its quiet watch. Scouts were forbidden to approach Sol again, yet spy probes were secretly deployed to gather more data. All returned with the same result: nothing. The humans had sealed their system completely, and across the galaxy, strange rumors began to spread among the lower worlds. Some said they had seen human drones exploring faraway nebulae. Others whispered that the Valkyrie had appeared near ancient battlefields, observing silently before disappearing again. To the common people, it became a myth, the ghost ship of humanity. To the military, it was a mystery wrapped in fear. To the Empress, it was a message written across the stars. Humanity had returned, and it no longer played by the rules of empires. Yet somewhere deep in her heart, the Empress felt a strange emotion she had not felt in centuries: admiration. For the first time, she wondered, what kind of people could fall so far, be forgotten by the galaxy and still rise again stronger than before? As she stood alone in her grand observatory, looking out at the endless stars, she whispered the word that had once been nearly erased from history: humans. And beyond her vision, hidden in the dark folds of space, the TSS Valkyrie drifted silently, watching, learning, waiting. Humanity had returned to the stars, and this time it would not be ignored. The halls of the Imperial capital had never felt so tense. Usually, the Grand Palace of Light was filled with quiet confidence, ministers moving with purpose, officers walking proudly, and scholars debating peacefully about the wonders of science and governance. But after the second Terran encounter, that calm confidence was gone. Now the hallways echoed with whispers. Words like human, Valkyrie, and unlimited power moved from one conversation to another. Some laughed nervously, calling it superstition. Others spoke in hushed tones, afraid even to say the name of the ship that had humbled 2 fleets without battle. The Empire had faced many challenges across its 10,000 years of rule: rebellions, alien uprisings, resource wars. But none of those had ever made the Empress call an emergency meeting of the Imperial High Council, the Science Directorate, and the fleet commanders at once. Inside the Grand Council chamber, golden walls reflected the light of the holographic stars that hovered above a circular table. Each star represented a world under the Empire's rule, and together they made a map of their galaxy, bright and proud. But tonight a new symbol glowed on the outer edge of that map. A small blue dot marked Sol, humanity's home system. Around it shimmered a dark field, representing the mysterious power barrier that had swallowed every probe since the last encounter. The Empress sat at the head of the table, her golden robes flowing like liquid light. Her expression was calm, but those who knew her well saw the tension behind her eyes. "Let us begin," she said quietly. "You have all seen the reports. You have all read the data. Now tell me, what are we facing?" Director Velthar of the Science Council stood first. His reptilian scales caught the light as he activated a holographic projection showing waves of energy patterns. "Your Radiance," he began. "Our readings suggest that the Terran ship, the Valkyrie, operates on technology we do not understand. Its power field appears to distort gravity, time, and even the basic flow of energy. We cannot track its movement, and when it disappears, it leaves no measurable trace. He paused, glancing nervously around the room. In short, Your Radiance. This ship is beyond our science. Entirely beyond. Murmurs filled the chamber. Admiral Rethon, always proud and impatient, slammed his hand on the table. Nonsense. No power is beyond science. They must be using tricks, cloaking fields, advanced jamming. We simply lack the data. Velthar turned calmly to face him. With respect, Admiral, we have all the data we can get. The ship disabled 6 cruisers in less than a second without visible weapons. That is not a trick. That is mastery. Enough, said the Empress softly. Her voice carried more weight than any shout. The room fell silent again. She looked toward Admiral Saren Hale, who commanded the Second Fleet. You spoke to them, Admiral. You heard their voice. Tell me, what do you think? Hale stood slowly, his posture disciplined and his tone steady. They were calm, Your Radiance. Not angry, not proud, just certain. They warned us, and when we obeyed, they did not harm us. I believe their goal is not conquest, but protection. Protection? Rethon scoffed. From what? They're one ship. Hale met his gaze. One ship that can disable a fleet. One ship that controls gravity like a tool. One ship that can erase machines without destroying them. Tell me, Admiral, does that sound like a minor threat to you? The room fell silent again. For a moment, the Empress said nothing. She simply watched the holographic map, the small blue dot shining softly in the dark. Then she asked, and what of our historians? What do our records say of humanity? An old archivist rose from his seat at the back. His name was Alaris Dune, keeper of the old archives, a human-like scholar with gentle eyes and a calm voice. Your Radiance, he said. Bowing, our oldest records show that humanity was one of the first species to explore beyond its home system. They were not as strong as others, but they were persistent. They had a spirit unlike any other. They failed, rebuilt, and tried again, no matter the odds. During the Age of Expansion, they refused imperial rule and vanished into the outer systems. We assumed they destroyed themselves in war or disaster. But perhaps, he looked toward the blue light of Sol, perhaps they went where no one else could follow. The Empress nodded slowly, and now they have returned. The council meeting continued for hours. Ideas, theories, and fears filled the air. Some wanted to send diplomats to the Terrans immediately. Others suggested building stronger fleets just in case. And a few, quietly but seriously, advised leaving humanity alone entirely. In the end, the Empress stood once more. We will not act in fear, she declared. Fear is for those who have lost faith in their purpose. Humanity may have power, but we have wisdom earned through centuries of rule. We will reach out again, not with warships, but with understanding. Prepare a communication array on the border systems. Send a peaceful message. If the Terrans are listening, they will answer. Her advisors bowed. The orders were clear. Weeks passed. Across the Empire, the message was prepared, a greeting of peace and curiosity, written in over 50 languages, broadcast through deep space frequencies. The Empire waited for a response. None came. Days turned to weeks and then to months. The message echoed into the void, unanswered. Scientists grew restless. Admirals grew suspicious. Citizens began to wonder if the humans were even real, or just another myth exaggerated by frightened officers. But then one quiet morning, everything changed. In the capital's main observation array, a technician named Lara noticed a strange reading. A faint pulse of energy, familiar, rhythmic, precise. She recognized it instantly. Director, she called. It's the same signal. The human one. Within minutes, alarms spread across the Imperial core systems. Not of danger, but of discovery. Every sensor pointed toward the outer rim. The signal was strong this time, steady and deliberate. The message was short. Just 2 words. We listen. The entire Empire froze. The Science Council went silent. The fleet commanders stood speechless. Even the Empress, usually calm and composed, stared at the screen with awe. Prepare a reply, she said finally. Something simple. Something honest. The message they sent was only 3 words in return. We mean peace. For hours nothing happened, and then once again a reply came. Then learn it. After that, the signal ended. In the following months, strange things began to occur across Imperial space. On several border worlds, old machines that had been broken for centuries suddenly started working again. Factories powered up, communication networks stabilized, and lost satellites reactivated. Scientists were baffled. They found traces of unfamiliar energy, signatures on those machines, the same kind detected from the Valkyrie. It was as if someone, or something, had repaired them from afar. Rumors began to spread that the humans were watching. Some said the Valkyrie appeared in the sky of distant mining worlds, hovering silently for hours before vanishing. Others claimed that voices spoke through the static of old radios, whispering warnings or advice. And yet there were no attacks, no invasions, no demands. Just presence. The Empress received daily reports, each more incredible than the last. But what struck her most was the pattern. The humans were not targeting military systems, but civilian ones. They restored lost communication networks, cleaned polluted power grids, and stabilized planetary weather machines that the Empire had long neglected. "They are not enemies," she said softly to herself one night, standing before the star map once more. "They are reminding us of what we once were." Her advisor looked confused. "What do you mean, Your Radiance?" She smiled faintly. "Before we built an empire, we too were explorers. Dreamers who reached for the stars, not rulers who feared losing them. Perhaps humanity is showing us our reflection." In the months that followed, the Empire began to change subtly. Exploration programs were restarted. Science divisions received new funding. The Empress encouraged curiosity again, not conquest. Yet deep within the fleet, not everyone was happy. Admiral Rethon and others like him whispered of fear. "Today they repair machines," he said to his allies. "Tomorrow they will control them. We cannot trust such power, but for now no one acted." The Valkyrie had disappeared again into the dark, leaving only wonder behind. Still, across the stars, a feeling had settled that the galaxy was no longer centered around the Empire. Somewhere out there, among the ancient stars, a single human ship reminded every living being that strength could be quiet, and greatness could come from those once forgotten. And as the Empress looked once more at that small blue world, shining far away among billions of stars, she whispered softly, not in command, but in hope, "May we be worthy of this peace." The Imperial fleet gathered near the border of Terran space, ready for war. It was the largest armada the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. Hundreds of ships formed in layers, battle cruisers, carriers, and dreadnoughts, all surrounded by smaller escorts that shimmered with blue defense fields. Every ship captain was alert. The atmosphere inside the control rooms was heavy and tense. No one spoke unless necessary. Orders were clear. If the human warship appeared again, it would be surrounded and forced to surrender. Admiral Kareth stood on the command deck of the flagship Imperial Radiance, staring at the holographic map. The border of Terran space glowed faintly in red. It looked like a simple, small sector, barely worth attention. Yet every Empire scientist and strategist now agreed, down somewhere in that small system was power unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans had done the impossible once before, disabling an entire fleet without firing a shot. But this time, the Empire was ready. "Admiral," said the communications officer, her voice firm but uncertain. "Long-range sensors picking up an anomaly. It's matching the same energy pattern as the Terran ship from the first encounter." A low murmur spread across the deck. Officers exchanged nervous glances. Kareth's golden eyes narrowed. "Position? Exiting hyperspace. Right at the edge of our defense line." And then, in a shimmer of light, it appeared. The TSS Valkyrie. The Terran warship was enormous, larger than most dreadnoughts, yet shaped like nothing the Empire had ever built. Its black surface looked alive, shifting with faint silver lines that formed and vanished like waves on water. The ship made no aggressive moves. It simply hung there, silent and calm, as if studying them. "Open a channel," Kareth ordered. A few seconds later, the voice that spoke was quiet and steady, unmistakably human. "This is Captain Elias Wren of the Terran starship Valkyrie. You're trespassing near Sol's borders. Identify your purpose." The Imperial officers tensed. The calm tone of the human captain only made it more unnerving. It wasn't arrogance, it was confidence, pure and absolute. Admiral Kareth straightened. "This is the Imperial Navy. You stand before the greatest power in the galaxy. You will submit to our inspection or be destroyed." There was a short pause. Then Captain Wren replied, "No one should be forced to kneel to another. We are not here for war, but we will defend our home." That single sentence made every Imperial officer pause. The words carried weight, not a threat but a promise. Kareth clenched his fist. All ships and prepare weapons. Fire warning shots. Let them know we are serious. The command spread instantly. Massive energy cannons powered up, their lights filling the darkness of space. Dozens of beams launched toward the Valkyrie, but before they reached the Terran ship, they simply vanished. The light bent away as if space itself refused to touch it. Not a single shot landed. Gasps filled the command deck. What just happened? One officer cried. Did they absorb the energy? Kareth's expression hardened. No, they made the universe ignore it. The Valkyrie drifted forward slowly. It didn't raise shields, didn't fire weapons. It moved like a giant shadow across the stars. Then a wide transmission was broadcast, not just to Kareth's ship, but to every Imperial vessel, every listening post, and even to the Imperial capital itself. The message was simple, clear, and spoken in many languages. We are the children of Earth. Once the Empire left us to die when the old alliances fell. We were weak, forgotten, and alone, but we endured, we rebuilt, and now we have returned, not as conquerors, but as survivors. The Empress herself listened from her palace as the transmission echoed through the Empire. Billions across the galaxy heard it. Miners on frozen moons, soldiers on distant worlds, merchants crossing the trade routes. Humanity, a species long believed extinct, was speaking to them all. We come not for war, the message continued, but for truth. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years through fear and silence. We have seen what that silence brings, suffering and the loss of knowledge. We choose a different path. We offer peace and understanding. The transmission changed. Streams of data followed, blueprints, equations, diagrams. Imperial scientists watched in awe. The information showed new forms of energy, healing technology that could cure diseases thought impossible, and propulsion designs that made hyperspace travel seem ancient. These gifts are free, Captain Wren's voice said. Use them wisely. But if you use them for conquest, you will answer to us. Humanity does not seek domination, only respect. Then the signal ended. The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon fire. On the Imperial Radiance, Admiral Kareth stood still, his eyes wide. Around him, officers stared at their monitors, speechless. The power and grace of that message were unlike anything they had seen before. One officer whispered, "They're not like us, sir. They've changed. They're something else now." Kareth didn't reply. His thoughts raced. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet they had brought the entire Empire to its knees, not through fear but through wisdom. He finally said, "Signal all ships. Hold fire. The Empire will not make enemies of gods." The communications officer hesitated. "Admiral, are we surrendering?" Kareth shook his head slowly. "No, we are learning." Meanwhile, deep within the Imperial capital, the Grand Council met in secret. The Empress sat in silence as her advisors argued. "They're bluffing," one shouted. "They can't be that powerful," another counselor responded bitterly. "Then explain how they turned off an entire fleet without touching it." The Empress raised a hand, silencing them. "Enough." Her voice was calm but cold. "We underestimated them once. We will not do so again." She turned her gaze toward the stars visible through the palace dome. "Send envoys. If they wish peace, we will talk. But if they plan to use this technology to control us, we must be ready." Her expression softened, almost in thought. "Still, it seems we may have found a mirror to our pride." Back near the border, the TSS Valkyrie turned slowly, engines glowing like faint white suns. The ship began to move away, silent and untouchable. Admiral Kareth watched it go, his crew still stunned. For the first time in centuries, an Imperial fleet had faced an opponent they could not understand. "Do you think they'll come back?" asked the communications officer quietly. Kareth's voice was calm. "Yes, and when they do, the galaxy will never be the same." The stars stretched around them, endless and bright. The human ship disappeared into the void, leaving only one undeniable truth behind. The Empire had seen the future, and it wore a human face. Days later, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Scientists were already studying the human data, amazed by its brilliance. Energy grids became more stable. Medical breakthroughs began. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt hope, mixed with fear. The Empress released a statement broadcast to all citizens. The humans have returned. They are not our enemies nor our subjects. They are our equals. It was a message that shocked the entire galaxy. Never before had the Empire spoken those words about any species. But it was the truth. Humanity had earned respect not through battle but through knowledge and courage. And far away aboard the Valkyrie, Captain Elias Wren watched the stars in silence. His officers worked quietly around him. "Do you think they'll change?" one asked softly. Wren smiled faintly. "In time, they have to. Because now they've seen that power means nothing without understanding." He looked toward the endless darkness ahead. Unexplored systems. Countless stars waiting. "We are not done yet," he said. "The galaxy has forgotten what it means to be human. Let's remind them." The Valkyrie's engines flared again and the ship vanished into the void, leaving behind a galaxy that would never forget the day it learned to fear and admire humanity once more. The galaxy had never felt smaller, yet larger, all at once. For centuries, the Imperial Empire had believed itself to be the center of order, strength, and wisdom. Every planet, every fleet, every citizen had been taught that the Empire was absolute. Yet in a matter of months, that belief had been shaken by the return of humanity. Across Imperial worlds, discussions that had once centered on trade, conquest, and expansion now revolved around one question: what exactly are the humans capable of? Scholars debated endlessly, fleets were reorganized, and spies scoured the outer rims. Still, the Terran warship TSS Valkyrie remained unseen, its presence known only through the messages it left and the subtle changes it caused. On the Empress's homeworld, in the golden halls of the Grand Palace of Light, the Imperial Council convened once more. Their discussions were no longer just about strategy, they were about understanding. Director Velthar rose, his scales gleaming faintly under the chamber lights. "Your Radiance, every probe we have sent has failed. Every attempt to analyze the Terran technology yields results we cannot comprehend. Even their messages contain concepts that challenge the fundamentals of physics as we know them." Admiral Saren Hale leaned forward. "We once believed fleets and weapons decided the outcome of conflicts. Now we see that knowledge itself is a form of power far greater than the fleets we command." The Empress remained silent for a long moment. Outside, the stars shimmered faintly, their light reaching her palace through the vast transparent domes. She finally spoke. "Power is meaningless without purpose. Humanity has reminded us of that truth." Across the galaxy, life was changing. On the remote world of Aethera, a mining colony discovered that its energy grids, long unstable, had been stabilized by a subtle force no engineer could explain. Communications that had been silent for decades now hummed with activity. The workers whispered among themselves that someone, somewhere, had repaired what they could not fix themselves. In the capital, Imperial scientists studied the data the humans had shared. Within months, they had unlocked designs for cleaner energy, advanced medicine, and faster-than-light travel technologies that had once seemed impossible. Entire research divisions were revitalized, inspired by the knowledge of a species long thought lost. Yet the galaxy's military remained cautious. Fleets continued to patrol the borders, sensors scanned the void endlessly, and officers trained in secret. No one knew when the Valkyrie would appear again, or if humanity intended to test the Empire further. But what truly startled the Empire was the subtle lesson humanity had left behind. Strength without wisdom was nothing, and that lesson spread quietly across every world. Months passed. Then the first human envoy arrived, not in force but in elegance. A small shuttle descended slowly onto Solaria Prime, one of the Empire's largest worlds. It carried no weapons, only humans wearing simple uniforms and calm expressions. The Empress herself greeted them. She was surrounded by her advisors, scientists, and the fleet's top officers. Captain Elias Wren stepped forward from the shuttle, the same calm and measured voice that had transmitted messages across the galaxy, now speaking in person. "Your Radiance," he said. "We come in peace. The galaxy is vast, yet it seems many have forgotten what it means to explore, to learn, and to respect life. We are here to remind you, not as conquerors, but as witnesses to your choices." The Empress inclined her head. "We have heard your messages. We have studied your knowledge. And now we see humanity's purpose." Wren smiled faintly. "Then perhaps we can teach each other." In the weeks that followed, human envoys traveled across Imperial worlds. They restored failing systems, taught new ways of thinking, and shared the philosophies that had allowed them to survive and thrive despite centuries of hardship. Soldiers who had trained to fight against humanity found themselves learning to cooperate with them instead. Scholars who had dismissed humans as myth became their most devoted students. Children grew up hearing tales not of fear but of inspiration. That humans, once thought weak and forgotten, had returned and risen to greatness. Even the Empire's military began to change. Training exercises focused not only on strength and strategy, but on intelligence, creativity, and ethical decision-making. Fleet commanders began to speak of restraint and responsibility. Inspired by the example of humanity's restraint, the galaxy began to see a new order emerge, not through conquest, but through respect, knowledge, and mutual understanding. Yet, not everyone welcomed this change. Admiral Rethon, who had always trusted strength above all, warned repeatedly to the Council, "Do not be deceived. These humans may not attack today, but their power is unmatched. One day they may demand more than cooperation. We cannot allow ourselves to become dependent on them." The Empress, however, was firm. "Fear will not guide us. Wisdom will. Humanity has offered knowledge and peace. If we choose otherwise, we will fail not because of them, but because of our own arrogance." Even Rethon fell silent, realizing that the galaxy itself was shifting in ways that he could not stop. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie continued its silent journey through the stars. Its captain and crew observed not only imperial systems but faraway colonies, independent worlds, and sectors the Empire had long ignored. Humanity was not seeking control. It was studying, learning, and helping quietly wherever it could. Elias Wren watched the stars pass by, contemplating the long path of his people. Once humans had struggled just to survive. Now they had the power to reshape an entire galaxy. Yet they chose patience, wisdom, and restraint. "Do you think they understand?" asked a junior officer, curious and cautious. Wren looked at the galaxy's glittering expanse and smiled. "Some understand. Many do not yet, but they will. And when they do, the galaxy will remember why humanity endures, not because of might, but because of choice." Back on Imperial worlds, ordinary citizens began to notice the change. Power outages disappeared, old cities became livable again, and communication networks functioned more smoothly than ever. Farmers, miners, engineers, and teachers all spoke quietly of the humans who had helped them, not through force, but through guidance and knowledge. Children grew up dreaming of the stars, inspired not by the Empire's dominance, but by the stories of humans who had returned after centuries of hardship to show what was possible. Artists painted the ships of humanity, schools taught their philosophies, and historians rewrote the galaxy's history with new respect for humanity's perseverance. Even the most cynical adults admitted, sometimes in private, that the humans had reminded them of what it meant to be alive. Finally, the Empress addressed her people for the first time since humanity's return. The message was broadcast to every world, every city, every home. "Citizens of the Empire," she said, "we have seen a species once thought lost. They have returned not for power, not for conquest, but to teach us what it means to endure, to learn, and to act with wisdom. Humanity reminds us that true greatness is not measured by fleets or empires, but by the choices we make and the lives we touch. Let us honor that lesson in all that we do." Across the galaxy, the words echoed. The Empire, shaken, humbled, and inspired, began to change, not overnight but steadily, as the memory of humanity guided them. And somewhere, in the dark reaches of space, the TSS Valkyrie drifted quietly, watching. Captain Wren stood on the bridge, gazing at the countless stars stretching endlessly before him. "It begins," he said softly. A junior officer asked, "Begins what, sir?" Wren smiled faintly, eyes shining. "The age of understanding. The age where humans remind the galaxy that true power is not to dominate but to inspire. We have returned not to rule but to awaken. And now the galaxy must choose what it will become." The crew nodded silently, knowing the weight of their mission. They had already changed the Empire. They had already touched countless lives. And the stars, vast and infinite, awaited their next lesson. The Valkyrie turned slowly, gliding through the void, a silent sentinel of knowledge, patience, and hope. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy understood that humanity had returned, not as conquerors, but as a guiding light. The Empire was shaken, but it was also awake. Humanity endured, And now so would the galaxy, inspired by the strength, wisdom, and unyielding spirit of a single human warship.